good morning, everybody. We're officially starting our seminar, and welcome to this, our fourth staging of the Maritime Awareness Seminars at the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies at the Caribbean Maritime University is hosting to bring some awareness to staff, faculty, and even the wider maritime community as to some of the current issues that are affecting us as people in the industry. Seafarers in particular, my bias, and people know it by now, is always towards seafarers. So we have Captain Kuba Skimansky. He's the Secretary General of Intermanager. Intermanager is one of the largest organizations that deal with crewing and shipping. They have about, in their organization, members are responsible for about 250,000 seafarers and over 5,000 ships. And Intermanager is also active on the international scene with the setting of standards and policies that govern how shipping is done and looking at issues having to do with the welfare of seafarers. So things like fatigue, we're going to discuss that in our human element class, Cuba. So I teach human element leadership and management, and we're going to talk about fatigue, things like enclosed spaces and so on. So Intermanager has been very active in contributing to some of the standards that we do have to adhere to. As I said before, the president of the CMU, Professor Spencer, should be joining us. Also, Professor Brown, the vice president of academic affairs and accreditation. We have Captain Deborah Newman, who is the dean of the faculty. We have our two our two officers who will also be sharing their experiences, and we'll introduce them properly when they come on. I see that Professor Spencer is now on. Professor Spencer?
Good.
Okay.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. So I was just starting with a little hi and hello to everybody. Well, good afternoon for Cuba. He's in the Isle of Man. And I see Dr. Dave Muir. So I will hand over to Professor Spencer to bring the formal welcome.
Thank you very much, Doc. It's a pleasure to be here. I would not have missed it. I'm in the middle of an academic board, which I chair, but I thought it was very, very important to come over and have this discussion with you at your Maritime Awareness Seminar. I think as we continue to talk about the future of this industry, the CMU has a critical role to play, but in playing that role, the CMU will have to be acutely aware that at the heart of what we do, it will be our Marine and Nautical Studies faculty. And we make the point at every opportunity that we have that this particular faculty, though it may not provide necessarily the critical mass that we need to survive, it certainly provides the most substantive content area that is required for us to be able to establish ourselves sufficiently as the maritime institution of repute this side of the world, certainly Latin America and the Caribbean. So today I'm very pleased to see that we're engaging in this way, and I see that we have some heavy hitter speakers, and I see that we have some of our fabulous students and graduates and others who would have been a part of being ambassadors of who we are and what we do. And so it makes me particularly excited because in having a discussion recently with someone about the CMU, I pointed to the fact that while this is not all we are, it is certainly the center of who we are. Every other area in the university functions in a way to support marine and nautical studies, functions in a way to get us geared towards meeting the needs of the maritime space in a very real way. And so it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this particular seminar and to thank Captain Newman, to thank Dr. Graham, to thank all others who would have been responsible for pulling it together. I know that the presentations will be well received. I know that individuals will find themselves in a place where they can leave saying that the CMU has enlightened where I need to be going in terms of some of the technological advances, in terms of where I ought to be in terms of my thinking and how I contribute to that space and how I ensure that I fit within that space. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to use this opportunity to say thank you for joining, and I look forward to the outcomes, some tangible outcomes in terms of the guidance that the seminar will provide for everyone here gathered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Spencer. Now, Captain Newman, the Dean of the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies, will formally introduce our main speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. Pleasant morning, everyone. Since 2020, the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies has hosted 3 maritime awareness seminars, which have all been successful. Today, we're doing it again to turn the spotlight on what maritime education and training institutions should be doing to prepare seafarers amidst the advancements in technology and to zoom in on the challenges faced by CMU cadets in getting their sea time. It is my expectation that this webinar will stimulate our minds to be more aware of the challenges and opportunities that exist in the industry. Today, we are fortunate to have a distinguished master mariner, Captain Kuba Szymanski, our guest speaker, and I know that he has some valuable information to share with us. Captain Szymanski is the Secretary General of Intermanager, the International Trade Association for the Ship and Crew Management sector. He started his career in 1985, graduating from the Maritime University of Szczecin in Poland with a master's degree. He began in the role of deck officer with Dorchester Maritime Limited, Isle of Man, where he sailed on gas chemical product tankers, reaching his first command as a master mariner in 1999. In order to support his managerial skills, he attended Lloyd's Academy and obtained a certificate in ship superintendence before gaining an MBA at the International Business School, Isle of Man, and John Moores University, JMU, Liverpool. In his roles ashore, he worked as a marine superintendent, health, safety, environment, and quality manager, fleet manager, and general manager. He was appointed Secretary General of the Intermanager in January 2010. Captain Szymanski is a familiar face on the International Maritime Lecture Circuit. For the past 16 years, he has also lectured on ship management at the International Business School, Isle of Man. Through his role with Intermanager, Captain Szymanski has participated in many industry-wide projects, including the production of international shipping industry key performance indicators, KPIs, the Save Our Seafarers campaign, and most recently, the Martha project, which focused on seafarer fatigue at sea. He currently chairs the Human Element Industry Group Enclosed Space Committee. During the pandemic, Captain Szymanski represented Intermanager on a number of key maritime panels, supporting seafarers around the world and helping to ensure business continuity for the global supply chain. In 2011, Kuba joined the TKF Foundation, which supports nonprofit maritime and youth programs, and he currently chairs its HR and Remuneration Committee. In July 2018, he was awarded an honorary doctorate by Solent Southam University in recognition of his contribution to the maritime industry. In April 2022, Captain Szymanski took up the additional role of chair of the board of the 200-year-old Seafarers Hospital Society, the UK's oldest maritime charity. SHS provides a range of health and welfare services to UK-based seafarers and their dependents. In his leisure time, Kuba is a keen yachtsman and races and sails his Veneto first, 40.7 competitively around Europe, mostly double or single-handed. Please join me in welcoming Captain Kuba Szymanski. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this introduction. I wish I was able to be with you. I would love to visit Jamaica, especially then there is so much happening racing-wise. And a lot of my colleagues are actually participating. They just finished the Heineken Cup. So a lot of sailing around. Now, I don't know how to change my view, but I would like actually to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, because my presentation will only be valued and valuable to you if we can have a dialogue. Therefore, I would like to ask a first question. And if anybody knows, please put your hand up. How many ships do we have in the world? Who knows? If you don't know, just guess, please. Put your hand up. And I mean, Caroline, you need to help me because I'm not seeing the full body of everybody. Do we have any hands up? If you could put your artificial hands. Yeah, I've got something. Gaugeggio, go for it. Tell us, what do you think?
Around 244,000 ships.
Also specific.
205,000 ships, you are saying. Is that right?
Yes, I said 244,000. That's if it's correct.
Okay, okay. Well, you exaggerated a bit. Anybody else? Who else would tell us?
50,000, sir.
Say again, Winston. I can't hear you. You have to speak up again.
Just call out your name so we know who you are.
I don't know who was speaking. That's my problem. So Winston Chambers, tell me.
Okay, good morning. Best guess, I would say around 50,000.
Okay, so everybody is thinking now because you don't know who I will ask, okay? You don't have to say good morning. When I call your name, you shoot your number, okay? Ladi James, please, how many?
I would say 100,000.
Lami James, you are winning. It's 120,000 ships around the world. Very good. Now, Seychelles, tell me how many airplanes do we have in the world?
I'd say 100,000.
You would say 100,000 planes. We've got 120,000 ships, and you are saying 100,000 planes. Errol Tomlinson, please. How many planes?
Sir, I would say about 150,000.
Okay. You are terribly wrong. Absolutely off your mark. There is only 9,700 planes in the world. Can you imagine? You are working for the shipping industry, which is 120,000 ships compared to 9,700 planes. And it's amazing, then you think other ways around. You believe that airplanes are leading the world when they are actually not even 10% of what we are. Amazing, isn't it? And you will be, guys, those people who will be actually sailing. Some of you already sail. I know you will be flying because you will be flying a lot from one ship to the other. Otherwise, from Jamaica, you can't leave. You have to fly. But now tell me, how many seafarers do we have in the world? Andre Gordon, how many seafarers do we have?
Morning, sir. I'd assume over 1 million.
Okay, over 1 million. Okay, Zhou Otao.
Yes, sir.
How many seafarers?
Anything.
I can't hear you. I don't know what you are saying.
Yes, I think it's maybe 2 million.
2 million, did you say?
Yeah, I think 2 million.
And I would say you are very close, 1.8 million. Now, why don't you know those figures, guys? You entered the industry, you came, you want to be a seafarer, and
Yes,
you
I
have
want.
never asked yourself a question, how many of competitors will I have? Where would I work? How many ships are available for me? Why you are not asking those questions? Why you are not Googling things? That's good thing then you are attending this seminar, good thing then you are going to this university. They will teach you something. But
Yes.
don't wait for the lessons to come. You need to think. If something is happening, you need to challenge things. It always helps to ask a question. Is Caroline actually telling the truth? Challenge her. Is Kuba actually saying the things which you should really listen to? So don't believe me. Absolutely, go and check. On the completion of this, go and then send me a message and say, Kuba, you were lying. It wasn't 1.8 million, it's 1.776 million. Now, what is the biggest nationality at sea? What do you think? Who are the most numerous seafarers in the world? Who knows? Okay, I can see the hand. Hold on. Amoze Simpson, please. You have to
Yes,
unmute.
sir. I'd say the Filipino.
Perfect. Very good. Filipinos, indeed. Well done. And how many of them? What do you think? Percentage or something? Amoze, you need to put your hand down now. We will go and we will ask Kenrick Russell, I think it is. Kenrick.
Oh, yes, sir. Can you hear me?
So how many seafarers from Philippines do we have?
20,000.
No, well, 30,000 we've got from Poland. We've got
20.
300,000 from Philippines. Okay. I have no idea how many Jamaicans do we have. So I'm asking Caroline now. I'm putting Caroline under the spot. How many seafarers from Jamaica?
Kuba, please do not put me on the spot. I do not know.
I tell you,
no, I'm
David,
sure we are not 100, but over the years, in terms of people who have graduated and gone to sea and left sea, I could probably say what, maybe about 250, 300.
Okay.
And that's a very, very wild guess. I'm not ashamed to say I don't know.
But maybe we should know. Maybe we should. I will
Yes,
definitely
we should
do
know.
my
It's
homework.
something I've been trying to find out.
So if you go to the Maritime
Authority of Jamaica.
authority, yeah, that's right. They will tell you how many discharge books they have issued.
Yes.
And it would be good to know.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Now, why am I asking you all these questions, you see? Because I want to put the context. Everything you are learning must be contextualized. Otherwise, it's just a theory. And it doesn't make sense to know something when you don't know how to use it. Now, you enter the shipping industry. It's extremely exciting industry. It's one of those industries you never hear, but something is happening all the time, especially in COVID times. Shipping was booming. The best times we ever had was during COVID. The prices for the freight went up unbelievably high. We never stopped. There was no stoppage whatsoever. Ships were going all the time. So I have to ask you another silly question. How much percentage-wise of all goods are carried by ships? What do you think? Look around yourself. Devart, please.
It's 90%, sir.
Very good. So if you look around yourself, I would say that in Jamaica, it's 99% because you're an island. So almost everything came, unless it's produced in Jamaica, then everything else came. Now, just reflect for a second. The shirt you are wearing, the iPhone you are using, the computer you are looking at, electricity powering everything comes from ships. And that means comes from you guys. You are going to be a future of blood of everybody else around the world. This is what's going to happen. Now, I need to move on a bit and switch to another subject. How many, we said how many ships we've got, but what do you think? How many passenger ships do we have in the world? Passenger ships. Who knows? Hand up, please. Give me a wild guess. Nobody brave enough to say anything. Here we go. Amoze.
So I guess 20,000.
20,000. So let's pause for a second. We know then we've got 120,000 ships in the world, and we've got only 600 passenger ships. 600. That's not even a 1%. It's a 0.5%. Unbelievable, isn't it? I know in Jamaica you only see passenger ships. No, because there are more ships, but you are blind. You don't see them. You only see the big white with a cargo which screams and bleeds. But then you've got other ships, huge number of other ships. And what do you think? What type is the most encountered at seas? What ships would you be sailing on, most probably? Anybody, any guess? Okay, Dante.
Container or freight ships.
Say again?
Container ships, freight ships.
Okay, container ships, we've got 12,000 container ships. No, that's not the biggest number. No. I saw Abigail.
I was going to say passenger ship.
Well, I
'cause
said only 600, Abigail. That's a drop. That's 600 ships only. There's nothing. They don't even register with me on out of 120,000 ships. No.
Oil.
Ah, tankers. Well done. Absolutely. But then we've got different types of tankers. We've got a crude oil tankers, chemical tankers, gas carriers, LPG, LNG, and so on and so forth. Indeed, these are huge, huge ships. Oops, I lost everybody. That's probably because Sandra is trying to share the screen. Am I right?
Sandre. Yes.
Okay, here we go. Very good. Okay, so let me just gather all information. The numbers, the biggest numbers of ships, tankers, and they include gas carriers and so on and so forth. Then we've got bulk carriers, vessels which are carrying coal, grain, anything in bulk. Then you've got container ships. And then you would have a refrigerator ships, reefers. Then you would have a supply ships. Look around Jamaica, there is so much happening. You probably have platforms. You've got offshore industry, maybe wind farms nowadays, and so on and so forth. So a lot of different jobs for the navigators and engineers. Now, I would like you to think for a second and be brave now, because it's a very difficult question for you. And I will ask 5 people. So question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? 5 years' time, where do you see yourself? I am going to ask someone who hasn't spoke yet. Scott, Renardo.
Yes, sir. Good morning. In 5 years' time, I hope to see myself attaining the rank of second engineer on board.
Very good. And what ship?
Preferably a tanker, LNG, because I have that course, I have that short course.
Excellent. That's a very, very good choice. You will be earning a lot of money. So you want to be a rich person. Well done.
We all do.
Rajiv Williams, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Well, as myself, 5 years time, possibly being a second officer.
Okay, on board of which ship?
On board possibly a cruise.
Thank you. Very good. Dane Fleming, am I right? I can't see the full name. Yes, Dane Fleming.
Morning, sir. In 5 years, I see myself more up in the ranks, be probably third engineer, second engineer on board LNG or a cruise line, either.
Very good. Excellent. Delan Williams, where are you going to be in 5 years' time?
Good morning. In 5 years' time, I hope to see myself as a third officer on a cruise ship.
Excellent. Now, I ask you those questions because I really wanted you to start thinking about your own career. You need to start doing some research. Talk to your colleagues, start reading, follow social media, Facebook, TikTok, see what makes you happy. Because those questions will be asked to you when you send your CV. And it doesn't make sense for you guys to send a CV to hundreds of companies because they will not respond to you. What you need to do is to find your way. Where do you really want to be in 5, 10 years' time? And not only then I want to be on LNG ship. Which LNG ship? Where are you going to work? Are you going to be in Trinidad Tobago because we are loading there? And if so, then you are going to be on the ships from these ships, Bernard Schulte, Columbia, Seaspan, Synergy. You need to find out. Otherwise, if you don't know, nobody is going to tell you. So start thinking now and think, why would you like to be on LNG? Why would you like to be on container ship? Why would you do this, this, and that? And once you research that, start finding out who works in those companies. Start following them on social media. Start learning more about them. Imagine that you are coming now to this interview process, and you will always be sent a message saying, such and such will be interviewing you on such and such day. And it happens then it's me. You Google Kuba Szymański, you know that I will be interviewing you in 2 weeks' time. And what do you find? Kuba is a sailing guy. Kuba skis. Kuba does this. Kuba has a cat. Kuba has a wife. Kuba lives in the Isle of Man. You do homework about me. You do homework about Intermanager. You do homework about those things. And then when we finally meet and we finally talk, you start with something funny about Isle of Man. And you immediately might get my attention. I would say, how do you know? Well, I've done research on you. So what do you know about me? Oh, you've got a boat which you race. Oh, do you race? Yes, I sail as well. Bingo, you've got a job. As simple as that, and as difficult as that. So don't come very humble to the meeting with me. And when I ask you a question, what are you going to do in 5 years' time? You will be like, oh, I don't know, maybe. Because if you behave like that, then I will behave like that. And I will say, oh, well, maybe you will get a job, or maybe not. So, guys, you are in control of your lives now. Talk to Caroline, ask her difficult questions, ask them, I mean, your tutors and lecturers, difficult questions, challenge them, squeeze them as much as possible. That's your time now to do that. They need to see that you really want to do something. Because if you are not, then they are not going to provide you with anything. I'll pause for a second now. Do you have any questions, immediate questions, something which you always wanted to ask, but you were not sure whether it is good time or not? Then put your hand up, yellow, I mean the electronic one, so I can see that. Nobody, everybody's afraid of me. That's all right.
Kuba, you want us to wait till after the others?
We can indeed. I'm happy to do that, but yes. I just want people to use this time. Carolyn, how much time do I have? Because I see that it's 33 already. Do I have 2 minutes?
Yeah, you can have 2 minutes.
That's fine. I'll finish with 2 minutes. Now, I was also supposed to talk to you regarding what is the best nowadays, what the colleges, universities should train people on. Now, I am absolutely 200% confident that your university, your college will give you everything you need as far as navigation and health and safety, stability, everything will be taught. It's not a problem. If you want to make a difference, it's the attitude, the way you approach your subject, the way you approach your life. If you are not going to take the world by the proverbial mug, then you are not going to get very far. And we are not expecting arrogant people, but we are expecting young people who know precisely what they want, because we want to help you. It's much easier to talk to somebody who actually has a plan and is following this plan, is flexible because sometimes plans change, but you are flexible, happy, can do, approaching subjects with preparation, then you will be very pleased to hear then it will be much easier for us to talk to you than talking to somebody who is just floating around and expecting something to happen to them. Caroline, I've got more to say, obviously, but I have to respect the time, and we've got other speakers as well. So I'll shut up now and I'll wait for the questions, okay?
Okay, we'll have question and answer. Thank you very much. And let me say, I have been saying some of these things to them and they think I'm quite miserable. My fourth-year students in our human element class, and you know that part about our mind, body, spirit from the Alert magazine, mind, body, and spirit. So I have them doing meditation and all sorts of things. So we are getting there. Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Winston Chambers, who is a past student of this school and is now here as adjunct faculty. Mr. Chambers hails from the agriculture district known as Pen in the Breadbasket Parish of St. Elizabeth. Mr. Chambers, coming from a humble background, attended the Descartes College, where he did 7 years. While in sixth form, he was awarded the position deputy head boy for 2 years. In 2007, he joined the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force, where he moved up to the rank of a corporal. In 2014, he enrolled at the then Caribbean Maritime Institute, where he pursued the BSc in Maritime Transportation. His involvement in the JCCF, that is the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force, helped him to excel in his paramilitary program, as he was the only cadet served as a company leader for 3 consecutive years. He also graduated Caribbean Maritime University with honors, receiving an award for the most outstanding marine transportation student. He then went on to complete his cadetship at Exmar Shipping while pursuing a certificate of competency with the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. Mr. Chambers is currently a 3rd officer with Exmar Shipping and a part-time assistant lecturer at the Caribbean Maritime University. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Graham. Good morning. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to have me speak here. I'm very keen about sharing my experience and hopefully the cadets will learn something. So it's a very short experience I'm going to share. First, I will share my onboard experience, and I was given the topic to speak a little bit about what you, the students, can do to prepare yourself for life on board. And additionally, if time allows, I would like to give some personal recommendations. So I am going to just go through it as quick as possible. And of course, in the question and answer session, you can show your questions and I will also. So first, I'm going to start with my onboard experience. And the first point I have here is basically expectation and reality. You know, when you're in school and you have done the 4 years, you're expecting now that, okay, I'm going to see finally. I'm expected, you know, I'm going to be on the bridge. I will have the binoculars all the time, and this will be what it will be on a daily basis. When I went on board, unfortunately, it was not like that at the beginning. When I started on board first morning, my first job, and cadets, you are all aware of the bell that we ring in the morning when raising the flag. My first job was to clean that bell. And of course, you know, it's not what you were expecting the first day, but I cleaned that bell to the best of my ability, and it took off from there. So first I started to work with the bosun every morning for the first month. I'm talking about shipping, painting. I didn't get any chance to go with the officers. You know, I was on deck just watching the officers go and wanted to go there, but you know, I was somewhat shackled to the bosun for the first month. Didn't know that it would be the first month, but yes, that was it. But importantly, I got to understand what the purpose of this was. You know, the things that I learned with the bosun as a first-time cadet, and you would have also learned these things in seamanship, the chipping, the painting, the using the equipment, all of this. These were fundamental things, and from there, they wanted me to have a good foundation. And from there, we build up. In the second week now, I was one day just working, and Chief came and said, okay, Mr. Winston, you will work with the third officer. And from there, it goes. So please, you want to always get the experience of what you see and what you think, but there's a lot of other aspect to the training as well, and you have to work your way up the ranks. You have to get the foundation, and from there you can build your knowledge to becoming a good seafarer, a good officer. You must be well-rounded as well, so you need to know the simple things on board. All right, the next thing I'm going to speak on, and this is very important to me in my experience over the years, is the food. The food was something for me personally that it took me a while to adjust to. You know, it's not every day you're going to get the curry chicken and the things that we have here. You know, maybe you'll have a Filipino cook or a Indian cook or whatever the case may be. So it took me some time to adjust, but over time I got to really sit and, you know, now I'm a little bit, I can get myself accustomed to the cooking, but I'm sure when you have a good cook on board, this is definitely one of the best things that can happen to you. You know, other things are good, but when you have a good cook, it is very good. The next thing I want to speak about in terms of ability is understanding and adjusting to different leadership styles on board. And you know, when you're on board, the captain, unless you come on board with the captain, maybe halfway through your contract, the captain will change, the chief mate will change, and the different management styles will change. You know, everybody have a different way. Generally, it is the same, but all captains may like something different. And as a cadet or as a junior officer, you have to be willing or open to the idea of adjusting to this as well. The next thing, and I think Captain Kuba spoke a lot on this, showing initiative. This was something that I think I did well back back then, and I really want you cadets to really take note of this, showing initiative and showing that you're here to learn and you want to learn. And one of the experience I can share with you was one day while I was on board, I know that the next day the job will be to pull down the compressor and the condenser. They were going to clean the condenser. I work on a gas carrier. They're going to clean the condenser. And what I did, I went, I read up about it, although I know a little about it, but I read something more. And I came in the morning to chief mate. Just before, every morning I report to the chief mate. This was on my second contract. And I gave a question. I said, okay, chief, I did some reading. I understand this amount of information, but I'm not quite clear on a particular part. And you know what that did for me, it shows as well the chief mate that this guy went, he did some work and he has some questions, and that shows that he's interested to learn. And for you guys, I want you to take that as well and learn from that. You have to show the initiative to learn. While the different leadership styles are there, you may have a chief mate that will come to you and ask you questions, but you may also get chief mates that do not ask questions. They will look at you and say, this guy is not interested. So you have to be the one to push and show that I am here and I want the knowledge. Remember, the officers, they have the knowledge. You're a cadet when you go on board, you want the knowledge, you need the knowledge. You need to go out there and try your best, whatever means to try and ask questions, never be afraid to ask questions. And also in your free time, instead of, going on board, enjoying your free time, having fun is very good. But sometimes take your little time, follow the second mate, just go on the bridge, even when you're not supposed to, you're not working there, go ask questions, just look what they're doing. Be inquisitive. That's how you learn. And I have a rule that when I was a cadet, and even now I still practice it, is that remember every day, learn at least one new item, one new thing. You cannot go wrong. You don't want to bombard yourself as well, but learn something new. It could be simple, something simple. It could be something very important, even the name of a new tool, something, but it's a learning process and you should attack it in such a way where you want to learn. And you see, when you show the officers and everybody that you're interested, they will gravitate to you more and be willing to call you. Example, they will call you even when you're on rest. Once it's not too late, they will say, hey, we're going to do something. I think you should come, right? Because they know you're interested and you will come and you will show initiative to try and learn. I know I don't have a lot of time, but also I have so much to say. Try to get as much hands-on experience as possible. Don't be afraid. In my company, the cadet, we're always on the bridge going in port, doing the bell book, filling up the bell book. But you will always hear the mooring operation going on. You will always hear them dropping anchor, and the procedure, the communication. You know what is taking place, but really and truly, you haven't been on the station. You dropped an anchor, and sometimes not all the captains or the chief mate will allow you, but you need to ask, and maybe you will get the opportunity to do it and do as much hands-on work as possible, because knowing something and actually doing it, it's a total different thing. And you must always try to get as much hands-on experience. So when you transition from a cadet to an officer, you will at least have that experience of doing it as a cadet, right? Under the supervision, of course, right? And I'm going to close off on this point, but what I want to say, you will have difficult days, you will make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. You will have days, I used to call them one of those days. Yes, one of those days where everything will go wrong. Sometimes, you have a rough day, you may make some mistakes, but just remember that it is just part of the process. It's a learning process. And the important thing that I always say about making mistakes is that if you learn from it, if you make a mistake and you did not learn anything, then automatically you just made two mistakes there. So always try, if you make a mistake, to see what did I do wrong? Where is it that I don't have enough knowledge in this particular area why I made the mistake? And then the next time when you're put in that situation, you will remember. All right. So try, when you make a mistake, always learn from it and ensure that you don't make the same mistake twice. Now I'm going to stop there with my onboard experience, and I'll just go over. Dr. Graham, just tell me if I'm going too much.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. So the topic that I got to speak on a little is what can you do as students to prepare you for life on board? And I must commend the university. I think it prepared me very well, especially with the training from the cadet, the discipline aspect, the conduct. This was something that sets me a little bit apart from all the others when I was on board. You know, the discipline, the way how you carry yourself, time management. I know in the cadet program, we emphasize this time management. It's important, important. If you're supposed to be on watch at 8 o'clock, doesn't mean you should go at 8 o'clock. 5 or 10 minutes before, just go. This is good practice, right? So, all right, I'm going off. What I want to say, what to prepare you for life on board, Captain Kuba mentioned a lot about it. Get experience from the current officers, yeah? Persons who have sailed. What they are doing is what you aspire to do. And therefore, you need to find them. You need to ask them questions. You know, I remember the cadet is even in this group right now. I have a cadet, he messaged me while I was going away. He said, sir, can I have your number? He emailed me, can I have your number to just, when you're on board, I will ask you some questions. And that was very good. That was very refreshing for me to see, where while I was on board, he would text me every now and then and say, sir, what are you doing? How is things? And he tried to find out my routine. And of course, it was very refreshing to share this with him, because this is what the experience that I have. When I share it, they will learn. And you who are aspiring to be officers and cadets on board, you will get an idea of what will happen on board. Next thing, and this is something that I use very much while I was in school, while you were in school, you will not, for most of the cadets, have the sea time, the experience. So teaching something and not actually doing it or visualizing it, it's quite difficult. But for me, there's so much information available now. You have your vlogs, your YouTube channel, your Instagram page, and I will share some of my own favorite. For YouTube, you have this page, Sailing Stories, Maritime J Lord, Captain JBA. On Instagram, Maritime Insight on Instagram is so some very important and useful information. On TikTok, you have Captain Kate for the females, giving a different perspective on the happenings of sea and all of that. As well, preparing you for onboard, keep yourself fit. It never hurts. Yes, keep yourself fit, and also communicate with your family members as well. A good communication. Let them know that, you know, they cannot call you all the time. You explain how the job works, you know, because I have a mommy that calls 24/7. So sometimes when it's day in Jamaica, it's not really there where I am. So I have to explain, mommy, I will initiate the call. You can text or send a voice note, simple things like that. No, I know the time is going, and I'm going to do a recommendation.
We are out of time, Sir Chambers.
Okay, all right. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And you will have an opportunity, because remember, I asked you to visit. You're coming to my class in our human element leadership and management. I try to talk about all those things and use relevant videos, websites from some, so you can come and share with us. So you will have an opportunity again. I know you're bubbling up and it's coming out, and that's very, very good to have this kind of experience to help the students prepare to go to sea. Okay, thank you. So now we are going to go to Ms. Naila. When you come on, please tell me if I pronounce your name correctly. Steele. She can be described as a consummate learner who holds very high standards. Her academic and professional path is certainly characterized by the emblems of the shield of her alma mater, Campion College. The open book embodies her appetite for knowledge and learning, which has positioned her well towards the success of achieving the highest academic average in the graduating class of 2019 from the Caribbean Maritime University. The palm branch symbolizes her victory as a female in the competitive world of shipping. The campion flower sets the charge and fuels her passion to go forward towards becoming Jamaica's first female marine pilot. When she's not at sea with the Ex-Marine Management Company as a third officer, she has recently found herself in the classroom, leveraging her guidance and expertise to aspiring seafarers. That is, she's an adjunct member of the marine faculty here at the university.
Thank you, Miss Carlin. Good morning, everyone. So quite a number of students here I would have taught or actively teaching. In terms of my onboard experience, so I'm a female, and going to sea, I didn't have much of, let's say, role models, female seafarers. I had female lecturers, of course, but not many of them were actively sailing. Many of them were just at home lecturing. So going to sea, I was pretty much learning things as I go along. And I will speak mainly from the female perspective, of course, and because we have a lot of female in the cadet corps currently. And one of the most important points about sailing as a female is setting boundaries. So you're in a male-dominated industry, you'll go on board and pretty much, maybe 90% of the time, you'll be the only female on board with a group of 25 to 24 men, right? So what you need to do, as you're like the diamond in the rough, basically. So all the attention will be on you. So you need to set your boundaries in terms of letting them know that, okay, I'm here to do work and work only. You're not interested in any intimate relationships because they will come at you. They will come at you, but you need to set the boundaries. So as a female, that was something that I had to learn along the way. So I realized, okay, at sea, you know, when you come on board, they'll ask certain questions. So they'll test your boundaries. So they'll ask certain questions. Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a husband? Are you married? And from then there, you cut it straight. I'm not interested in having those conversations, and you move on. We're here to work and you work. Now, once you start opening up to things like that, you leave the room open or you leave the space open for additional questions, intimate questions to be asked. So that's one of the main points as a female on board. Secondly, is as a female, you're working twice as hard as a man. So if Mr. Chambers, for example, finishes work at 3 o'clock, I have to finish at 4 because I have to prove myself twice as much as he's proving himself. So one of the things that I had to do at sea, first of all, in body size, I'm pretty small, as many of you would know. And initially and immediately, you're doubted. Is she really capable of doing this? You know, can she really do this? And I don't think this is for her. And, you know, maybe you need to stay inside. For me, I don't feel like someone should tell me how strong or how weak I am. Let me tell you, okay, I cannot do something, but you don't determine what I can and or cannot do. So that's something as a female you need to do. These are things you should expect. So expect that when you go on board, they will tell you, no, you need to stay in the office and do paperwork. And you tell them, no, I'm not here to do that. You can say these things respectfully. So when I first went on board, I had a chief mate that said, I don't think you should go on deck, you know, maybe you need to stay inside. I don't feel safe with you going on deck. I said, listen, I understand your wishes and I understand your concerns. However, you don't judge what I can or cannot do. So let me go outside. If something happens and I'm not able or not capable of doing it, I will let you know. Otherwise, I'm going to do it. And this is how I set the boundaries with senior officers. So going forward, as now as an officer, people don't ask me anymore, can you do this? Is this possible for you? No, they wait until I say, okay, this is really heavy. Can you just assist me a little bit? And that's how we go forward. Next thing at sea is, it's a pretty new issue. On passenger ships, it's not really an issue because there are things in place to deal with it. But on cargo ships, it's a really big issue and it's often overlooked because we're small in number. So it's about female cycles, menstruation, and how to deal with the hygiene, disposing of things properly. Because a lot of times people are ashamed, as women, we're ashamed of speaking openly about it. And we find ourselves in a very precarious position where we don't know what, when we need to dispose of these things, they're biohazards. We don't know what to do. Some people throw them overboard, which is not safe. That's not protecting the environment. So these are things that, as a female, I have begun taking the initiative within my own company to introduce these things, to have female products on board in the event of, because during COVID time, a lot of females were on board for longer than they expected. And you can imagine when you don't have these essential female products. So currently as a third officer, I took the initiative to order these female products on board for each vessel that I go on. So that's something that I'm doing on board currently. So that's pretty much it for my onboard experience as a female. I was also tasked with speaking about ship design and technology and what we should expect within the maritime industry. So ship design and technology is constantly evolving in the shipping industry. And there are certain areas that you'll find a greater level of interest. And one of these areas is environmental protection. Now, with increasing concerns about the impact of shipping on the environment, there's a growing focus on developing ships that are, of course, more fuel efficient and produce fewer emissions. Now, this has led to the use of alternative fuels such as LNG, liquefied natural gas. You'll find that many LNG ships, they don't necessarily use fuel oil, but they'll use the boil off from their own cargo as a means of propulsion. Now, secondly, you'll have, it's fairly new, the introduction of a different type of propulsion system. So instead of using diesel, we're using electric and hybrid propulsion. Now, secondly, and this is the one that is most revered by seafarers, it's automation. So automation is becoming increasingly prevalent in the shipping industry. And when I say automation, I'm speaking about autonomous ships, remotely controlled vessels, and of course, they have now automated cargo handling systems. So these are the things that seafarers are fearing, because you're thinking, okay, now my job becomes obsolete if you now have an autonomous ship. However, in terms of the company side, the corporate side, it's of course more cost effective. It's efficient because you no longer have to deal with work and rest hours or complying with work and rest hours, because there's nobody that needs to rest. You're no longer complying with MLC. And then the next thing is that it increases safety, because you no longer have an issue of fatigue and having human error and accidents because they're machines. Now, as seafarers, how do we actually deal with the introduction of automation? It means that our learning and our training will be modified in such a way that we can be incorporated in the human-machine interface. Now, thirdly, we have digitalization. So the use of digital technology, such as Internet of Things, which is embedding the internet in just normal devices. For example, at sea, or cargo handling system, I went on my last contract, I was on a fairly newly built vessel. So it was built in 2021, and I went on board I went on board twice. So I went on board when it was just delivered, 2021, and also I went back in 2022. Now, this ship, in terms of technology, is quite advanced. So as a cadet, I went on a ship that was built 2006, and everything there was manual. If you need to start the pump, you have to go down and start the pump. If you need to close or open a valve, you have to go there physically, open and close the valve. Now, on a 2021 vessel, there's not even a mechanism to do it manually. Now they're creating things like override systems. So in the event of an automated failure, then you have to do something manually. That wasn't there before. So now they're trying to implement things like that. So if you need to open a valve, on a computer screen, you click open and the valve opens. No, so these things are, you know, the beginning, the advent of technology taking over. So, you know, on this ship, the manning level has also decreased. So on an older vessel, 2006, you need minimum 25 persons. On this vessel, 2021, you don't need 25 persons. Their minimum manning level is 21 persons. And as time progresses, these manning levels will continue to decrease. So I'm hoping that sooner or later, STCW will start, you know, adjusting the training requirements for the seafarers, so we're better equipped with dealing with the new technologies that are coming about. Another thing about digitalization, now you have smart containers. So smart containers, when contained, especially refrigerated containers, when they're on board, it's quite difficult to ensure that whatever perishable cargo you have inside remains safe or remains viable. And in order to do that, you have to ensure that the temperature is right, the humidity is right, and it's actually connected to an electrical power source. Now, nowadays, you have sensors inbuilt in the container where you're able to track these things. So nobody needs to go outside to check the temperature, to check that it's connected, to check the humidity. Nobody needs to do that anymore. There are sensors inbuilt that gives you real-time data about the temperature, the humidity, as well as the location of the container. So another thing in Europe, they have automated mooring systems. So before you sent the line, you have someone on board that is, ashore that is taking the line. Now they have something like a magnet that slowly, sorry? Someone said something?
No, they're just
so
moving and eyeing at what the information you're giving.
Yeah, so they have like a magnet. So as a ship comes along, it slowly attracts the ship. This is something that's there. It's still in the patent phase in terms of the introductory phase. So they're still trying to figure out how best it will work and how safe they can make it work. So these are the things that ship design and technology has introduced to the shipping industry, that design and technology has introduced to the shipping industry. So I leave it open for any questions.
Yeah, okay. So we'll take questions at the end, but thank you very much, Ms. Steele, for that very informative and detailed account of your experiences. And it's good to have the female perspective because we do train female seafarers, and those things you have pointed out are very, very important. I have always said that sea is not ready for women, even if women are ready for sea. There are certain things that need to be done that the industry is shy of speaking about, and it's very important to talk about those things openly and have people understand that we need to make special preparations in some instances. So thank you very much for that. And of course, I'm going to invite you to my class again to speak more on these things. Our final speaker, our discussant, Dr. Dave Muir, is going to come and pull this all together for us. He has a PhD in electrical and computer engineering from Georgia Tech, USA. He has knowledge exchange in automation, instrumentation, computer controls, AI, the Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0. Dave is a principal lecturer at the Caribbean Maritime University with joint faculty engagements in the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Technology and training for chief engineers in our faculty, Marine and Nautical Studies, for over 6 years. He specializes in the development of electrotechnical officers. Dave?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Graham, and thanks to everyone who has been such lovely presentations so far. So I have the opportunity of actually wrapping this up in the next, how much time do I have? Maybe what, 5 minutes, Caroline? 5 to 10 minutes?
5 minutes, please. And then we go to question and answer. I'm sure they have a lot of questions.
Sure. Okay, no problem at all. So Captain Cuba, thanks for really putting things in perspective for us, starting out, of course, with a basic question in terms of how many ships there are in the world, right? And of course, the role that even, that has surprised me as well in terms of the cruise ships and passenger ships, and it was just actually 600 of the 120,000 ships out there, just 600 actually cruise ships. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that, but very interesting. And also, of course, thank you for putting things in perspective as well, as we actually think about our futures. And this whole idea that you definitely need to know where it is that you're going, what it is that you want, have a 5-year development plan, and your attitude, of course, is very, very important. I thank you very much, sir, and I hear the experience just oozing out of you, and I know that there's much more that you have to say, but as you mentioned, we're keeping it tight. As we go to Mr. Chambers, I appreciate your discussion, and of course, you mentioned the shift in which you looked at the whole idea of your expectations, and then when the reality actually hit you, I actually felt that hit right here when you mentioned that reality. So I was just actually smiling at that. But of course, very interesting and very practical life lessons and that you have actually given here to our audience, basic things in terms of course, keeping fit and always having that openness, that ability to, to learn, of course, it is always key. Once you show interest, of course, then of course you'll actually make it. And where it is that I'm actually heading to is the whole point where I see where you clearly make use of the information that is very around you. My experience with all the seafarers and everything, so far, you're loaded with information, loaded with books. When you go on board, you get like a whole hard drive of information that's there and everything. It's your job to really just go through that. Make sure that you actually prepare yourself. You cannot say that you're short of information opportunities in this time at all. So I thank you for bringing that back to the floor. Now, Miss Naila Steele, very interesting to hear your presentation. Thanks a lot for bringing that female perspective to the floor. We really appreciate it. We, as of course, have to be more sensitive, of course, to all these issues and stuff. You raised a lot of important points. I think the main one that I see was that whole idea too, that yes, of course, we shouldn't place limits on each other, of course, but that's a very important point. And of course, the point you made about actually setting boundaries itself. Now, diving straight into the core, which of course is the automation. No need, as you know, to actually fear automation. Automation is making our lives much more simpler, right? Making things more efficient, much more safer, and we just have to embrace it. So you mentioned all the buzzwords that I would mention in terms of the use of the Internet of Things, the use of the communication capabilities. I'll throw in some, for example, like the whole use of the satellite technologies for communications and several other things that are actually happening now. As you actually mentioned, the whole idea of autonomous ships, I hear the little concern that you have in terms of jobs and stuff, but don't worry about that. Yes, there's going to be a shift in terms of maybe some person may have to relocate, etc. But then again, those jobs might actually shift on shore, and you're still going to have need, of course, for the seafarers, etc. Right? Basically, what's happening now, in my view, in terms of automation, autonomous ships, is that the stage that we're at in terms of the technologies, it's already there. If you think about the automated systems we have, it's already running. Just picture yourself going, onshore and that being done remotely. It's already happening, and it's a direction we're going. We cannot reverse it, but the important thing to do, of course, is just to continue to prepare ourselves. And we're doing that here at the CMU, with us having a center like the Festa Center, which has like a large, Internet of Things, a large Industry 4.0 lab. The whole idea now, as we fuse these technologies, is to merge this into our existing curriculum that's here in the marine science. So we have good exposure to these technologies and stuff. We fuse them in, and then we'll be okay, right? So let's just embrace, automation is what is that I would say. And it's happening. Even the classification societies, you name it, things are happening. I think recently I actually looked online and I saw a post wherein I think it was with the MCA, they were actually looks like they're actually looking for persons with autonomous shipping experience to help to chart those policies, etc. So things are happening, and you know it's actually here to stay. So I just want to thank all you guys in terms of the presentation, the beautiful presentations that you have actually done. And as I want to close, I want to continue to encourage you. I think that shipping is very, very dynamic. It's a very exciting field. And to wrap it up, the key things that are actually happening now, the whole idea of digitization and decarbonization are the main driving forces that are actually there. Lots of opportunities that are there. As Captain Cuba said, this is the time now if you really immerse yourself. Yes, I do believe that you can make it, you can get rich, and you can make your impact, make your contribution in this in industry. So we look forward to working together, building these technologies and moving along as we change, you know, and grow the sector, the region in these areas. I thank you. 5 minutes.
Well done. Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Muir. Now we will have our question and answer session. I will look at how we're doing in 5 minutes and then perhaps another 5 and see where our discussions are going. So anyone who has questions or I see Andre. Go ahead, Andre.
Morning again, everyone. Thank you, Miss. This is are you able to hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, great. So this is a question to Captain Szymanski, right? So I would like to get his aspect, being that he is mostly related to the shoreside based aspect of the industry regarding ship management and crew management. So he spoke about the number of vessels and all these different figures, but I want to know what is being done on his side to introduce young persons like myself to the industry. And also, once these persons are introduced into the industry and become seafarers on board vessels, what is being done by shoreside to help the longevity of these persons' careers within the industry?
I'm not sure I understand that. Obviously, if you're looking at me, the industry must have done something good. I'm 57 years old, I'm still happy, and I'm talking to you today. So something must have been done right. Look at Winston, who I wanted actually to compliment. Winston is just entering it. Winston is myself 30 years ago. Okay, and that's the path to go. So what we are doing, well, we are trying to talk to you guys. We must have done something right as well, because you are already at university. So you are already focusing on something. You are not going to be a pilot or miner or hotelier. You are going to go shipping. Now, if you follow what Winston was saying, then I think you will be in a very good hands. I don't know what else. If you could be more specific, what do you expect me to tell you? Then I will try, because otherwise I think we've got a very well prepared promotion procedures, we even call it, which I've got a problem with procedures, promotion procedures, but everything is actually designed. We used to have very good mentoring system. So you cannot be a captain of the ship if you are not third mate, second mate, chief officer. And that's brilliant. So nobody is jumping. People are not knowledgeable. People are working together with each other. Therefore, this is my attempt to answer your question.
Remember, there's this program, I don't know if it's still ongoing, where well, not you, but Intermanager introduces young people to shipping, having them on board, interacting with seafarers and so on, that program. So I guess it's for perhaps national development, what countries can do to introduce their own nationals to seafaring and to support the program.
That is correct. Obviously, I think if this is answering the question, I came through yachting, sailing. So I did a lot of sailing before I became a seafarer. So I did the tall ships and so on and so forth. But I don't think Andre is asking that question. I suspect Andre wants to hear something and I can't put my finger on it.
What do you want to hear, Andre? Write it in the, is there anybody else has a question? We can go on, and Andre, you can perhaps write it in the chat.
Okay. I'm watching chat as well.
Ambrose?
Good morning again. Amos. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
I guess this might be a question from Mr. Muir. The volume problem. This would be a question for you. Mr. Muir or Ms. Steele, on quite a number of electronic systems, what measures are put into place to avoid cyber attacks or hacking into the, or spoofing into the vessel's equipment?
Yes, yes, thank you for that question. Very, very good point that you're actually making and the direction that you're actually going. One of the main things that's actually being done right now, there are several cyber security courses that are actually there, starting out with a basic certificate in cyber hygiene, and then actually going further wherein the vessels actually have like dedicated cybersecurity officers that are actually there to ensure that, of course, your automated, your computer systems actually remain safe, right? Of course, it's a complex problem, as we know. It's a constant, race between, what's happening there and the persons doing the attacks. But luckily with the internet connectivity, with the satellite technologies that are actually there, the cloud capabilities that we can be constantly updating, these systems, even when out at sea, etc. Then all of that helps to actually keep, our systems fairly secure. But as we know, it's a constant challenge, right?
I have one more question. I'm not sure if Captain Szymanski could help.
I'm listening.
My question is, I was doing some reading on the passenger ship, the MSC World Europa, and the Steele had mentioned that some vessels will switch into LNG. What does that mean for a vessel that's propelled, its propulsion is mainly focused through LNG? What does that mean for, I guess, the ship itself, the environment, and the reduction of cost to cargo, if any?
Yeah, okay, we are using LNG nowadays more and more frequently. The issue here is how to refuel. It's like with electric cars nowadays. You are introducing electric cars, but you need the petrol stations, you need the charging stations. So the same with LNG ships. LNG is fine. It's a beautiful cargo, if you think, because what you are seeing is you are seeing a container which is carrying liquefied gas. But when you actually go from the liquid into the vapor phase, you are expanding 600 times. That is fabulous. Imagine this. 1 liter of liquid LNG is 600 liters of gas. So it's a superb fuel, but the problem is you have to have it minus 163 degrees. And here is a problem: insulation. So what that means for the crew on board of the ship, it means more training, it means new cargo, because passenger ship crews have never ever dealt with LNG. So new training, but new opportunities as well. I think it will work on, in my opinion, on the short voyages when the ship is able to actually roll on trailer with LNG, which will be connected to the ship supply, engine runs on it, and next port, the trailer gets out, new trailer gets in. That would be my answer. But I also wanted to support Dave Muir actually answering on cybersecurity issue, because Dave said one very important word: cyber hygiene. And that's what everybody can do that. Don't be silly. When you go on board of the ship, don't bring your USB stick and put into ARPA, radar, for example. you may kill the whole ship with doing that. Is somebody going to watch you? Obviously, nowadays, the ships will not have ARPA radars with USB sticks fully available. But you may put your USB stick into something which is on board of the ship, thinking then, oh, well, I'll just play the game. I've got an Excel spreadsheet or something. And then you will infect everything. So those things, you need to be responsible for what you are doing. And listen, basically, because sometimes our imagination doesn't go that far. There were famous things when people were dropping USB sticks in their hotels or somewhere, hoping then somebody will pick it up, put it in a computer, and hooray, off you go. So watch out those things. Thank you. That's all from me.
Yes. Oh, and just one quick thing on the cyber security thing too as well. Remember too that the IMO also has strict guidelines and provides guidance in terms of that. And with the ships, with the classification societies in their surveys, they're also looking for the efforts that you actually put in terms of getting rid of these cyber attacks as well, right? So there are different layers that are there to protect us. Thanks.
I just wanted to add on the use of LNG as a fuel. So LNG, the boiling point is minus 165. So the issue would be refrigeration, so maintain this temperature. Now, my last ship is one of the first ships in the world that is powered by LPG. So propane and butane, they have a much lower boiling point. For propane, it's minus 42. So it's easier to contain this. So on board, we have propane as cargo, one, and then we use propane as fuel. So we load fuel and cargo. Now we're loading our fuel in type C tanks. So type C tanks are like your gas tanks at home. So they're cylindrical, insulated, pressurized tanks. So these are kept on deck, and then we're using the liquid vaporized, as Captain said, you vaporize a liquid and you use it as fuel. So no longer there's an issue of LNG because of how hard it is to keep it refrigerated. Now they can use LPG. Now it's still in the introductory phase. It's on board, it's still not able to run for more than 72 hours. So they're still in the stage of developing and tweaking things. But I think probably in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be one of the main source of fuel for ships. It's much cleaner, of course. So once you go to ports like in the US, they're so excited that we're using now LPG and not fuel oil.
Thank you for answering that. Thank you.
Any more questions? Persons can also type in the chat if you have a question and you're shy to come on camera.
I think we've got Abigail.
Abigail?
Hello, good morning again. All right, so my question is for Ms. Steele. You had mentioned, you know, doing the whole initiative to get necessities for females on board for each vessel that you go on. I remember you saying there's some form of shame in the sense where, you know, there are cases where persons would like dispose things overboard when that's not the case. You didn't really specify exactly as to how females dispose of these things. You know, can you expound on that a little, please?
So before I expound on it, I'll share my first experience. So my first experience on board, you know, I had to send a message back home to one of my female lecturers, and I asked her, you know, how do you deal with these things? And she said, well, you know, you just, before you reach to the port, you just toss it. And, you know, it's okay to say, okay, just toss it. But, you know, I'm from the new generation. We think about environmental protection and how it will affect the environment. And nowadays you have a lot of screening for discharge from ships nowadays. So currently on board, there's still nothing. But what I do is I secure everything, you know, in plastic. So like a plastic bag, and I secure it with tape and stuff, really secure. And then I put it in the plastic. So that's one option. There's also the next option of incinerating. So you can always give the fourth engineer and tell him, okay, I need to incinerate this. Now, there's always a worry about the plastic and not incinerating plastic, but this is actually residual plastic. It's not like a great amount of plastic. So it's legal to incinerate these type of things, biohazards. So that's how we deal with it on board. But I mean, in port, you cannot use the incinerator. So that's why I told you there's an option of using the plastic bin. Because in port, you don't use the incinerator.
Okay, so we are fast approaching 11:30, and I will take maybe one more very burning question. If someone has a burning question, one more. Am I seeing another hand?
Ricardo.
Yes, good day, sir. Ms. Steele's focused on the modernization and the advancement of ships that's coming up. I just would like to know how would that affect seafarers, how are seafarers coping with that evolution of new vessels, and how would that affect or threaten their jobs in the future?
I'll take this question actually, and I'm thinking, first of all, with difficulty. The problem is where to get the lecturers who are willing to come from sea and lecture on the new technology. There is a huge gap in salary, and I have to face that. When you are a chief officer on board of the ship of master, you are probably earning 10 times more than you are earning as a lecturer at the university. And here is a huge problem because you can't. So some universities are actually going for the dual system when you are working at sea, but you are also lecturing and trying to do that. New technology is catching up on us, big style. So there is a lot of online training. Companies are going to send you. Nobody's going to expect anything from you if you haven't been trained. So there is a lot of training going on at the moment, and we call it continuous professional development, but also CBT, which is the onboard training. So a lot of this is happening now. We are, as an intermanager, having a huge discussions with the manufacturers who are not only producing the equipment, but they also have to produce the training material for us. Imagine I'm 57 and I'm going on board of the vessel Naila was saying as a master, and it's all automated and all my experience is manual. I'm in trouble. It's not you guys. You are young. You are born with iPhone in your palm. I've got a problem because I am not native to those things. So it takes me much longer than it takes you. So we are trying to address this at the top, knowing that you guys are usually very, very good with things. So that will be my answer.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's one question in the chat, but I'm not sure we can deal with this. It looks very involved. I really heard from officers who work on board the bridge mainly. Didn't hear much for the engineering aspect, especially from a female perspective. Any advice for a future female marine engineer?
I'm typing it now. There is an absolutely great institute called IMAREST, and they would love to hear from you. Just drop me a line if you want. Be in touch with Caroline. I'm putting my email address there in the chat as well. So email me, tell me your question, and I will definitely answer your questions. And I will send you a link to IMAREST, and IMAREST will get in touch with you. It's a beautiful question. It's absolutely superb question. So there is IMAREST.
Yes, and I think that is a very good note for us to end on. Professor Brown, our Vice President of Academic Affairs and Accreditation, is here to give the formal thank yous, but I would also like to thank everyone for coming, all my students who have been so good in attending because I threatened them. I'm joking, I didn't. They are very, very keen. And faculty members, I'm seeing some faculty members here, also persons from the Maritime Authority of Jamaica, JDF Coast Guard, and others are here, and thanks for signing in. Professor Brown will give the formal thanks and final remarks.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start out by thanking yourself and also Captain Newman and your team for putting on such an enlightening and informative seminar. Let me also say that I hope this is not the only one that you'd have. I hope you're planning to have it as a series. Could be once per month, once every 2 months, something like that. But the amount of information that was shared here this morning, I think, I hope Captain won't charge me for considering myself a seafarer because of all the information that was given this morning. Pardon?
Mute your mics, please. Who is how do I do that?
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. So I'm saying that a lot of information was shared here this morning, and I think that it is good for the students to hear it. Normally, when you're in university, and I'm sure we all can relate to this, when we get to like third, fourth year, final year, and we start thinking about the profession. We start thinking and real hard about the profession and what you have learned so far and everything that you know and how you would do in the profession and things like that. So these seminar, it's sad that I didn't have the benefit of these seminars to help to prepare me to go to face the world of work. But it's good that you came up with this idea, and I'm hoping that we would continue. Anything support that you need from my office, I'm willing to prepare. I'm prepared to support us having this seminar. Being an engineer myself, I would like to hear the last question that wasn't answered. I would like to hear some answers to that question also, because we heard from the deck side. We'd like to hear also from the engineering side, their experience and things like that. So you can think about that maybe not just as an answer to that individual, but also for the next seminar. That might be the topic of the next or next seminar. So by way of thank you, I'd like to say thank you to Captain Szymanski, who has taken time out to be here with us and to share his knowledge and information, and just to give us some idea of what is going on in the shipping industry. I came on at the start of his presentation because I was going between two meetings. We have an academic board meeting going on, and we also have this meeting that I think is very important. So I was kind of back and forth between two. For me, I picked up that there are 120,000 ships in the world, and 600 of those are passenger ships. I did not know this. These information are really, really, spectacular, blowing my mind. I didn't know that we had so many ships, but it all goes to show how important the information here is. I also heard, I did not hear the presentation from the officers. So I would like to just take this time out to say thank you to Officer Chambers and Officer Steele, who also came here to share their knowledge and experience with their fellow colleagues and students who are preparing themselves for the world of work. Sorry that I missed your presentation, Officer Chambers, but I was here for the entire presentation of Officer Steele, and it was so informative and so gripping that I sat through all of it. And I really want to thank you. I think that you are an amazing person and a real brave person by taking on some of the questions that you take on and give the answers that you give. And kudos to not only CMU, but the program that you graduated from. I think that I'm convinced at this point that we must be doing something right, because to be preparing individuals, graduates like you and officers like you. I'm sure that Captain Newman and Dr. Graham is getting it right. I would also like to thank my colleague, Dr. Muir, who came and gave us a good summary. And Dave is always talking about AI and things like that. And I know that Dave would continue to share his experience and his knowledge. And I think he's really, really happy about spreading the word around, because Dave know that this is where the world is going. And one of the things that we need to do, and one of the things that we want our students to be, is to be prepared for when these things come. We don't want to get back in the situation where when we get to that point, people are gonna start burning equipment again, as was done in the 1930s and things. We want people to be prepared that AI is coming, and that's the way of the future. And we just need to upskill, and we need to accept the technology and allow it to help us to perform our duties. I think that my 3 minutes might be up now. I hope I had mentioned everyone. I hope I didn't left anyone out. But also, I know the president came on this morning and he gave you his, he made his opening remarks and things like that. But as far as support for seminars, discourse like these are concerned, I give my my total support. And whatever I can do to make sure that this continue, I will provide the support that you need. So thank you very much once again, not only for putting it on, but for inviting me to be a part of such an enlightening and informative session. Thank you, Dr. Graham.
Okay. Well, thanks to everyone again for coming. Thanks, Professor Brown, and enjoy the rest of your day and your evening, Cuba. And Cuba will be in touch. Thank you very much.